We have here 4 different artifacts, replicas of artifacts that are part of biblical history, and they sort of flow together, so I want to discuss them in order. We're going to first talk about this. It is Nebuchadnezzar's account of the first wave of captivity into Babylonian captivity. He comes to Jerusalem. He takes, in this document, the king, his mother, and his wives and his officials back to Babylon to stay in captivity. And that is Jehoiachin, although his name is not mentioned on here. But then Nebuchadnezzar sets up Mattaniah and changes his name to Zedekiah, and that is Jehoiachin's uncle. And the font size, they say if it was in English, it would be like a 5.5 font size. So it is that small. And so this verifies, again, the fact that Nebuchadnezzar took those individuals into captivity and then set up Zedekiah as king. Now, this cylinder is made by Nabonidus, and he is going to be a king after Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. In Daniel chapter 5, there's mention of Belshazzar's feast, and for a long time, critics of the Bible said that Belshazzar is not on the king list of the Babylonian kings, and he never really existed as a king until this was discovered in the late 1800s. And on here, Nabonidus goes to Assyria and begins to repair some temples that had either fallen into decay or been destroyed in battles. And so he felt it necessary to go up and honor the god Asher. And on here, he has sort of like a little prayer. And at the end of it, it says, "May the god Asher watch over my son Belshazzar, whom I have left in Babylon, and may he be wise." Well, then we have Daniel chapter 5 that tells us Belshazzar had a drunken party using the temple artifacts from the temple in Jerusalem, and they were drinking, and then the handwriting came upon the wall. And so finally they send for Daniel, and Daniel interprets that for him. And he had been weighed in the balance and found wanting, and that night the kingdom would be taken away from him. Well, it was taken away by Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great and his army were outside the city of Babylon, and Babylon thought they were impenetrable. The Euphrates River went beneath the gates of the city, so they had a good water supply. But history tells us that King Cyrus the Great, his army that night, changed the course, and they'd been planning this. They changed the course of the Euphrates River, and the Euphrates River lowered. They went in under the city walls during the night and conquered the city very quickly with hardly any loss of life for the Persians. Now, Cyrus then, exactly on the 70th year, as Jeremiah prophesied and as Daniel prayed that God would remember that prophecy, Cyrus the Great writes the edict, and it's called the Cyrus Cylinder. And on that edict, he allows all peoples that the Babylonians had captured and displaced. He allows all of those peoples to go back to their homelands, which that would mean that the Jews were allowed to go back to Jerusalem. It happens on that 70th year, as prophesied by Jeremiah, and it was Zerubbabel in the book of Ezra that takes all of those people back to Jerusalem that had been displaced. Now, a few were left behind, but again, these documents, again, confirm the Word of God.